because I didn't really like pay attention to it because I was just catching shit constantly. And
Hey,
I got my ass handed to me because I used it was either I think it was Splash, which is a Magikarp move, and then the following move like he beat my ass. But if I had used a different move, I probably would have won. But I refused to do
you're
the rematch.
telling me, you're telling me 26 years of this being a common knowledge thing.
Okay, all right.
You
So
use you use splash that does no damage
It even
on a
says it.
combat scenario.
yep. So
No wonder you
uh,
got your ass whooped.
So,
I,
this new game actually incorporates school. This man over here wasn't trying to run it, and I still am waiting for that round two. Or
nope,
maybe you forgot.
nope.
I'm still here waiting for round two.
You ain't getting no round two. You. I don't speak no Spanish, but you can chupa mi huevo. So,
Hey, 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 hey. All I gotta say is this: you, I barely won round one. So what makes you think that you don't stand a chance in round two? I'm trying to be the fair one here. I won, but I'm waiting for the rematch.
you
I'm
have
waiting
no
for the
clue how long
rematch.
I have been waiting to say that. You have no clue, because it's actually a line from a song with Trey Songz and Ty Dolla Sign. He's like, "Yo, I don't speak no Spanish, but you can chupa we you know." And I'm like,
Chupar mi
"Yo."
huevo. Cabrón. I'm just like, what the fuck?
Hey,
Okay. I'm a little bit confused. What the fuck is going on here?
oh,
Is
you
this
see,
like
when
beef between
Scarlet
you
and
two?
Violet first dropped,
So
Yeah.
when the game came out, right? Me and Sage, we had a quick little match. Luckily for me, I had a full team of six. He didn't have a full team of six, so he had a team of five. I
I
almost
had a
won, but I
team
was
of
like,
four.
oh, team of four, yeah. And he only whooped my ass because I was like, wait, yo, why does this Pokemon know this move? Because I didn't really like pay attention to it because I was just catching shit constantly. And
Hey,
I got my ass handed to me because I used it was either I think it was Splash, which is a Magikarp move, and then the following move like he beat my ass. But if I had used a different move, I probably would have won. But I refused to do
you're
the rematch.
telling me, you're telling me 26 years of this being a common knowledge thing.
Okay, all
You
right. So this
use you use splash that does no damage
It even
on a
says it.
combat scenario.
yep. So
No wonder you
uh,
got your ass whooped. However, pause. However, you're telling me you run that fade with Sage,
yeah.
knowing full well that Sage is at a high caliber of battling.
Oh, this was no. So that battle was
It
like
was
when the
at the
game
very
first.
beginning of the game.
Yeah, the very beginning, like the game
At
was
the
first
at
out.
the very beginning,
Yeah, we didn't
Yeah,
have
like
any gym
random
badges.
Pokemon with like the baby starters.
Yeah,
yeah. No gym leaders, no gym badges.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, then that's a little bit more fair. But at the same time, it's like, sweetie,
No, no,
honey,
no, 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 no.
Sosa,
See,
You know what you signed up
see.
Sosa,
for.
So like,
baby.
yeah. Hold on, he gets a pass. He gets a pass because like he
Why?
didn't put in that work. No, because I was left to only my son, and my son put in that work.
He did.
All right, my
Actually,
son. Yes.
Yo, bro, don't hold
yeah.
on. Don't you still have that on your Twitch?
Oh yeah, I have the clip. It's on Facebook
So
too.
go fucking find it so you can
No.
show it.
No.
The fuck!
Don't
Don't ever do
No.
that again.
you don't want to
No.
embarrass me? Okay,
No.
okay.
No.
Um,
Why are you asking
I
for
watched
public
around.
humiliation? What is this kink that's going on here?
it's
What is
No.
this?
it's
What's
it's
No.
Solomon?
He's
it's not a kink.
avoiding
I'm just
my second round that I've been asking
I'm just
for.
trying to
He's
keep
a
this pushing.
champion now.
I'm just
He
trying to keep this
qualifies.
pushing. I'm just trying to keep this pushing. I don't normally play. I've played 3 Pokemon games, maybe 4 in my entire life. This one, Brilliant Diamond or whatever it is, Unite, and Pokemon Go. That's it.
Mhm.
I've
So
played
you
no
only
other
play
games.
two.
Exactly.
You've only played two.
Exactly.
Those are two experience, and they don't count for the competitive sense or whatever. So
I mean,
basically,
Unite does.
Hold up.
Unite
Unite
technically
is
does.
competitive. Unite is the
Unite.
whole.
Unite is a MOBA. Unite does not count in the sense of a
Okay.
Pokemon battling scenario.
Okay.
I will not be
Yes,
taking this
I will
discussion
give
any
you that.
further.
No, I give him that point. Juju wins on that point right there. However, I still want my round two. I still want my round two, Sosa. All right.
So run that fade with Sosa and swatch it out, okay?
Uh,
All right, we can do this right here, right now.
No.
my shit's dead. So, back to kind of like the play at hand, right?
Okay.
Game experience, right? So for
So
me, like not the real like Pokemon heavy dude,
are
I
we not?
enjoyed it.
Are we not gonna introduce? Like, are we not gonna like do like? Oh, sorry.
We've been
Hi,
past that.
welcome to the thing.
We're
We
past
What
that.
do
already
you
did the
mean we've
intro.
We're
been
past
We
that.
past that?
already
We've
did
just
the
been talking
intro.
shit.
No,
We've just been talking shit.
we already did the intro.
Structure is the goddamn podcast. Arky is sick. I swear to God. You guys are just running ahead like no fate or whatever. Make a structure. We're trying to do business in this bitch.
Hi, welcome to another episode of
Jesus.
the Otaku Outsiders. It is me, D Dog, Juju, and Sage. We're gonna be talking about Pokemon. Nonetheless, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We're actually doing a not a callback, but like we're doing a. All right, cool. We've played the game. We've gone through the trenches. All right, this is our thoughts and viewpoints on the game and whatnot. And Juju, I'm gonna let you know everything that we said. Yeah, that's bonus clip. Gang, gang.
Oh my God.
Getting caught with
Okay.
the pants
So
around your ankles again. You lacking.
so as I seem to have whipped the children into place. Hi, you guys, and welcome to a Pokemon episode about the video game in itself of Scarlet and Violet, because it was a very important video game, and as of now, we're gonna talk facts. It's the best-selling game of Pokemon to date. Like, it basically already surpassed Sword and Shield, Arceus, Brilliant Diamond, and Shining Pearl. We out here doing the numbers. So, first point on the discussion period is the way that the game was received, and your thoughts on it. Your first thought on it when you booted up the game for the first time. So,
Ooh, ooh, that's actually a really good one. Personally, in comparison to
mhm,
the other game that I played, Brilliant Diamond, I thought it was obviously it's different generations entirely, but I thought it was like a really
mhm,
good, nice way to do open world. Because like when you think of open world video games, personally, me, I think Jack and Dexter, the precursor legacy, where they're like, no, you have
yeah,
the
that's
open
a very
world,
strong one.
but like they are sectioned off because you have to get to certain milestones before you can access the rest of the world. Which I feel like that is
Yeah,
something that the game neglected, and I feel like they should have restricted certain areas until either you got certain badges or until you
mhm,
reach a certain level with your Pokemon. Um, because at one point, because like what I did, I didn't go to school.
mhm.
I refused to go to school. I said I'm gonna go and I'm gonna let this smack me in my face. So I went because I had a fire starter type. I went to the grass and bug gyms,
Mhm.
whooped their ass. Mwah, it was easy, easy money. And then I went to the water type, and I got my ass handed to me. But he was also 20 levels above me, and I'm like, oh, you're gonna be the last gym I touch. And then I went to literally every other gym, did all the Titans, did everything else, went to the last gym, and then I went to the school. I went to the school before I went to the last gym. I was like, it's
That's
okay.
a
Yeah.
that's a very fun way to like actually describe and state like your own experiences with the game. Considering that this is a very much like a first-hand experience on one of like the more you're not a seasoned trainer, as we would call them, and you've only basically just had a remake and then an actual like this is your introduction to the Pokemon world, which is fine and it's granted it's a grand experience. Okay, so we got yours point. Like Sage, hit me.
Hey, you
Hit me,
know,
baby, one more
we got
time.
the unseasoned trainer become seasoned over here. All right, and on top of that, the open world factor. I was like, great. Now, I only got my ass handed by Kofu. Yes, yes, we struggled
Oh,
on the same gym.
you
However,
struggled on
it's
Kofu?
I only struggled
But you
one
got the
time,
water type.
and
That's
that's
good.
because I was like, I'm gonna do the Agni Kai rules. That was it. And seeing how my
Okay.
son is the only water type that I had, I was like, damn, I lost this round. But I came back and whooped his ass. Aside from that, it was a pretty good game. I liked the open world. The story was good. All right. The only tear jerker was at the end. And when I say the end, I ain't talking about, oh, you completed one part, you completed part two, you completed part three. No, I'm talking about the very end. All right. You see that, what's his name? Arvin's parent? Oh, no. Damn. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, but I get what you mean. It was a very it impacted. Okay, like
Emotional
let's
damage
try to
to the
like not
mind.
go ahead.
Ed Sheeran.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
let's
Ed
try to like
Sheeran.
not get there. It's like we still need to like basically touch upon like another fields. But yes, the story of Arthur was a very important thing. At least for me, when I first booted up the game. Listen, I have my own crew when I do play my games here, especially Pokemon Consider It. Experience with the game playing because we didn't really do the co-op game, but we did like checkups on every one of the trainers that was in the collective. It's like, hey, I've reached this point, or hey, I've reached this other point. Was for better or worse, kind of like okay, it sounds a little bit skeptic, and it might sound a little bit like but it was more of a I told you so moment to them because and this is the experience with Legends of Arceus. I saw Legends of Arceus for what it truly was, and it was an experimental game. Because
Facts.
Pokemon tends to do that whenever they're going to jump from a new generation to a next one. Almost at the end, you'll start seeing like maybe a couple of technologies here or there that they're going to implement. And they did something very good, which was the open world concept for it. Semi open world for Arceus, which is fine because again, it's an experiment. They need to figure out how it's going to work. With Scarlet and Violet, the general feel for the game is to a degree what many collective Pokemon trainers have always asked for in the sense of the open world. And many trainers can agree. Some others that like a little bit more structures would feel for like the old generation games. But at the end of the day, progression is needed. And when you're a game franchise that is as big as Pokemon is, you can't really fail. You know, like you might feel like the general flop, but the numbers don't project that, so they know what they're doing in a sense. However, I gotta say this: it was a great game, but it did feel kind of choppy, and that is a great segue into like the kind of like the second point that I want to make is the game felt choppy, but it was ultimately the theft, so to speak, was there. I don't know if you
Mm.
agree or not, but it's pretty much like flavor wise, we good, but graphics wise, what we doing? So I kind of want to first get the general idea from our unseasoned trainer. I kind of want to get the general feeling for like the trainer that may have not have all the points of reference like we do, Sage. So Sosa, when it comes to in the regards of the graphics of the game or like the general output of the game, how did it feel to you
Ooh.
as a player, as a trainer?
Okay, as just a regular trainer, I felt the graphics were good, but it was lagging. But when I say it was lagging, I don't mean that like, hey, like there were moments where it was lacking. It was literally, I'm just walking in the forest, right? I'm playing on my Switch, but I have it on my TV, so I'm seeing the bigger picture. But I don't see this tiny ass Pokemon that's the same color as the grass. Like there's no distinction for some of those things. And when you're going into certain areas, obviously certain areas is going to have different Pokemon, which that's usual. Any time you want to find a specific Pokemon, they're going to be in the specific area around probably a specific time. So if you want a Ghastly or a Haunter, you would have to go to a certain area, wait for nightfall, boom, they're there. But
Valid.
in the essence of like, all right, cool, I'm going into the area. There's a lag in between the areas, like within like I'll say 10 feet of the town
Hmm.
line, there was such a problem because there were multiple times I want to catch that Pokemon, and then I I turn my camera to have it be front view instead of to the side. I walk and then it disappears. I was like, but it was right there, right in front of my face. So why was I teased this, and now I don't have a chance to grab this Pokemon because this Pokemon won't appear for like another town or two because that was always the issue, and it was always EVs. I'm like, oh, I want to catch an EV, and then the EV would just disappear. So that to me was like the main problem is like the lag in between the towns, like within 5-10 feet of the towns. It was extremely annoying. I did catch quite a few Dittos though, and Dittos can suck my dick because I thought I was gonna catch a good Pokemon, and then it was a Ditto. I was like,
And then it
never.
turned out to be a Ditto. Okay, okay. So yeah, that basically states a lot of how you felt and all that stuff. But generally, the feeling was there. It's kind of like it did feel lagging, it did feel choppy. Sage, same question.
That choppiness is killing me. Game
Mm,
Freak, fix your shit. I'm just gonna say it. All right, especially during the terror raids. I get it's like who attacks first, which is a great segue into what we truly want. Okay, because the open world is the first start. Now
yeah.
we need all the gym leaders, all the
Mm-hmm.
league. We remove the level cap, and we start making it okay. First hit actually does matter to the point where it's like, okay, we might have to do a little bit of Pokemon Burst if we're gonna have this bad of graphics. Because if we're still staying turn-based game, we can't mix the two. Because that's what's really messing up the graphics of the game, in my opinion. If it's turn-based, yeah, it gives the machine the time to process the quality of the move and animation. However, when you go into those terror raids, it's all based upon who moves the fastest and what does the most damage, which doesn't always pop up. Like I'll go out and I say, "Oh, it's time to terrestrialize." Boom! Next thing you know, everybody is gone, and it's just me and my Pokemon, which I kind of appreciate because it shows that one-on-one. Like, okay, it's me and my Pokemon. We about to go through it. But if that was the case, why didn't we just keep Mega Evolution, Dynamax, and Z moves? However, to continue to stay on point, any other time there were like attacks being thrown, it would always be like, oh, where's my Pokemon? Or you would see that, oh, it's still standing midair trying to perform the move, and you're like, what's going on here? Like, what is this? I would see my son Darkwing use Surf. Next thing you know how the water spout comes up before it flushes out everything, and it's
Mm-hmm.
still you see the water flush out. I'm still seeing this man floating in the air, and I'm like, bro, you a whole fighting type. How are you doing this? You don't have a flying type Terra. I know I ain't
Yeah,
push that on you.
and your wings don't support flying.
Exactly. I'm
The
I'm
flying
just
Okay,
Tentacruel.
literally sitting here.
pretty much. So I get your point, and I get what you're trying to say, and that's a very valid concern. Like, listen, just point blank, period. That is a very valid concern because at the end of the day, it do be showing that maybe they're not handling the graphics a little bit that well. Because in the processing and it all, and it is something that has been stated and has been like shown that this is a lacking part, at least from the Nintendo sake. And it's hey, just bless you. And it's
Thank you.
the Switch is old at this point. You know what I mean? Like the Switch can't handle all that stuff at the same time. But it is a very paradoxical way of saying that and stating it because at the same time, Switch can run Breath of the Wild with no problems. So it is more of an issue with Game Freak because, and this hurts me because at this point, listen, at the time of the recording is the 7th of March. Game's been out since November 18th.
Yeah, that
But at this point,
I don't mean
There
to
should
cut
be
you
no
off,
issue.
but Arceus came out January 28th of 2022. Almost not even a whole year later, we get Scarlet and Violet. So I'm like, if there were issues that were involved in Arceus, which was the first open world game that I believe it was Game Freak that did, that should have been addressed prior to this game, and uh, release date should have been pushed back a little bit.
To answer that, they were developing at the same time,
Okay.
both Arceus and Scarlet. Like, however,
How
it's also one of the things and one of the points that I want to bring out. They should have given Scarlet and Violet a few more months in that oven.
Hmm.
They could have changed the release dates. Instead of November, make it come out on January, or at least, and this is gonna sound like maybe even weirder, change the engine that works with the Pokemon.
Mm.
Everything. Just they either need to port it and figure out how to make it work, because at the same time, whatever engine, whatever software that they're using, in order to help with the designing of the world concept and everything, it's not the T. So this is something that they need to understand, that the choppiness kind of breaks the immersion in a way, but at the same time, hey, bringing up the Terra raids. I've been on Terra raids for 1 star, 2 star, all the way up to like the 7 stars, and there's a freaking Pokeball in the middle of the ground. I do not know if you have seen that, but that is such a very distinguishable error. And as of late, ever since the update and the patch with 1.2, it's kind of like, I don't see it as much. But at the same time, it's like you're telling me that you have to throw in a whole patch for this. And I know that we're not necessarily opening the conversation with like a lot of in depth with the Pokemon game, but this is like the perfect time because choppiness of the game brings the graphics down, brings the loading down, but also at the same time it do be breaking the immersion. And this game has a very, to say it in a way, a very Schrodinger's cat type of feel for it.
Mm.
It's both a great Pokemon adventure, and this is a step in the right direction to what like a lot of fans want, a lot of Pokemon trainers want, and all that. But at the same time, those same graphical things are holding it back from performing at a max level. And you're one of Nintendo's oldest thing. Like next to Mario, it's Pikachu. Like as equals
Mm.
almost in the sense of the representation from Nintendo and a worldwide
you see the difference?
brand.
You see the difference?
Yeah. So
It's
that
barely an
that's
inch.
well that's the thing
And
too. Like
and
when you look at
and Mario.
Nintendo
Mhm.
64, like Nintendo 64 was like the Mario Nintendo 64. That he's that's like leagues above anything that Pokemon has really put out overall, and that's a game that came out so many generations ago in consoles, and it still stands the
Basically,
test of time. Its graphics is
yeah,
shit, but it still stands the test of time when it comes to that. So, and then when you look
yeah,
at all the other games, even the party games, like there's less lag, and that's something that like as one, a content creator, two, a gamer, three, someone that like enjoys like going down rabbit holes, is that you can't have something like that because then it destroys the longevity and the reputation of the story. So okay, cool. Scarlet and Violet, they had that issue. All right, cool. Well, what other game that's like that had that issue? All right, well, Pokemon Arceus apparently had that same issue, but that's the main problem with production companies like Nintendo. Now, I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying if you're going to be having a game in production, I understand character models. You could definitely just copy and paste it because for the most part, it's going to be a copy and paste if they're running on the same engine, especially if they're being done around the same time. But I would wait for a game to launch, right? While we're creating everything else, like we're creating the Titans, all those other things. All right, cool. What are the people saying? What are the consumers saying? Because even looking at it right now, yeah, roughly 70% of the people that play um, Scarlet and Violet, they like it. So there's 30% of people that bought it and hated it, and then review bomb it and being like, "Yo, this is trash." Because everyone's experience is going to be different. If you're a newbie, this is a great way to get you started. But if you don't have any conversation with people that are more seasoned veterans, you're going to get so lost and you'll be like, "I don't know what to do," and then you're going to hate it.
yeah. It's a very, very important topic to like keep in mind. Um, but here's might tend to be an issue, and is this Game Freak. Game Freak. I'm talking to you guys. If you ever get to see this, if you ever get to hear us, hi. I'm a fan. I've been a fan for a long time. Perfect. Please, please take your time. Don't rush the game. You're so big that you cannot fail and you cannot possibly like screw up in the development period because it is the development period. Like keep the game in beta a little bit longer. And this is gonna sound like I'm a Gen Oneer, but I'm not. I partake in all of the generations equally. There's not a single generation that I dislike more than the others. It's just I enjoyed the story, and then after I've completed the entire game, I cast my opinions. But Paldea in its entirety, Generation 9, its entirety lacks severely because, and I will say this, generations 3, 4, and 5, that is Hoenn, Sinnoh, and Unova,
And gang.
have a consistency that is remissed from every other generation. The moment that they jumped on 3D was the moment that they were doing something good. Kalos had the potential to be good, but all that potential was down the drain because they started a period of rushing it. All of the games, and this is very important to keep in mind, all of the games have a time frame of 3
2
years
to
between
3 years.
titles. 3 years between titles. We have a couple of spin-off games, a couple of little things, itty bitty, to keep us in the way. But every game has have a development period of between 3 years or so. The only one other game that took a little while longer between one and the other was Unova, because Unova had Black and White 2 in between it and Kalos while they got ready. You know, they gave us that third version of the game that suddenly everybody's like so scared of. It's like, oh my god, they're gonna make it like another one. Listen, Platinum was fine. Black and White 2 were fine. You know, we kind of like would like them to do that, but at the same time, the DLC method is not a bad thing.
Yeah,
But we're not going to
because
touch on it right now.
yeah, no,
We're going
that
to touch on it a little bit
I
later.
mean,
DLC overall in microtransactions is more of an annoyance. Mainly because like back in the day, we used to get like full on games. If we wanted DLCs, it would just be for certain characters. So I went and I just looked up Game Freak and the things that they've done in production, and I have to do a certain way. But they've done almost every single Pokemon game, right? In the first few games, right, Red, Green, Blue, they all came out 96. And then the next one came out 98, next one 99, one in 2000, next one 2002. Four. All right, cool. I'm assuming that these are probably like, the same generation. Next Pokemon is 2 years later. Platinum, 2 years later. Heart, Gold, Silver, about a year later. Black and White 1 and 2 were in the same year, which, okay. X and Y came out 13. So that's a huge jump from the first Black and White because same it's same system, so it's more copy and paste than anything. But boom, X and Y a year after, and it's just the more and more you look at it, they keep their production cycles less than 2 years. Now, as Juju
Yeah.
said earlier, you're not gonna go away, especially because like Mario, Pokemon, Sonic, Crash Bandicoot, the things from The Last of Us. These are things that have like stood the test of time because they earned it. So if we know, hey, Pokemon's not going to go anywhere, right? We are getting a whole brand new generation. I should not see a whole brand new game until 2024. 2024, 2025. I shouldn't be seeing a brand new game. First, Ash is no longer the MC. So we should be getting something whole
Oh,
new and like entirely and whatnot.
oh, I am not ready to have that conversation. Listen, I my anxieties are through the roof.
getting back on the point that you mentioned earlier,
Mm.
yeah, we are rushing. I can openly say I don't represent Game Freak, but I do understand that we are indeed rushing. Like Scarlet and Violet, it retaught me patience, because we
One
weren't
type
getting
of
anything.
love, one
And for
type
the
of
longest time, that's
feeling.
how trailers were really supposed to drop for Pokemon. All right, that's why I have my man's Mahad over here in the background dropping the Dark Magic attack. Open your mind real quick, because I don't think we remember. But like, for example, with Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, we had maybe one or two trailers, and you would see it constantly on the rerun loop, and that was all that you were going to get. You don't get the leaks, you don't get
Hmm.
anything else, no updates on the starters. I mean, especially
Yep.
for Platinum, because it was just a copy and paste of Diamond and Pearl but with extended story, which
And then extended Pokedex. That's basically it because they saw that in Diamond and Pearl they did not do a good job, and so they brought a lot of things back.
exactly. So, with Platinum being in the middle ground, I was like, okay, cool. Now, for me, I'm just taking it from I did the research and analytics, cuz I don't think people realize I started in a mid-shift period. So, my aunt and uncle, they got together and
Yes.
started dating around Black and White. So I played
Okay.
it a little bit while I was in the car while they were doing what they did. Go out,
Hmm.
hang out, family time. Cool. My first actual Pokemon game was Black version 2. My mom bought me a DSi. I was in middle school. I was like 7th or 8th grade. That's when I started. So I was in a transition period. So I already had that patience pre-built and installed into me, like, okay, cool, we get this one trailer and then that's it. All right, cool. Now we start getting into the 3DS era. It's boom, trailer, another one, another one, another one, and it's like, yeah, this is
DJ
getting good.
Khaled.
He's cooking
Another
right
one.
now. Game Freak is really cooking right now. And now it's like,
DJ Khaled. Another one. Way to
are they
blast music.
exactly? Are they cooking now, or are they just flambeing? I mean, not even flambeing. Are they just rubbing down the sauce and then putting it inside the slow cooker? Because
So,
even then, you're messing up the slow cooker meal. Because as great ones say, the slower the cook, the better the meat. Right?
so
Yeah.
I don't know if Juju and or Shadow remembers from the Ruby episode, but Sage and I do because we've been editing it. So you're plating everything raw and you're forgetting the cook. Like you have everything, but like it is so raw, it's still talking back to you. Like that's
Basically.
that like that's the sad part
I, I
because
was I was
you
trying to avoid it.
you're trying to avoid it. Yeah, no. When you are the editor, you have more free reign because you remember this shit. Because it's like, oh damn, this thing was like a 3 hour episode, and like we have the
Oh,
Salamusis, we have
remind
the
me of the
cosplay
haunted terrors
beauty, we
being
go to
a
Smash.
noob at editing. You know what, Mahad, take over.
So, yeah, that's a very interesting conversation to have. But yeah, like there's a point that I was maybe trying to say, but like honestly, you guys also brought up very, very interesting points. They need to take their time further. Because listen, at the point of right now, they cooking. Like let's just say how it is. They cooking. Paldea is great. Paldea feels big. Paldea feels extensive. However, it suffers from a sense of emptiness. And allow me,
So,
after you see the game, there's nothing in the post game that will hook you in. And that is something that older games had that this one does not. Raids are fun, but there's nothing organic in the game that will keep me there. Mass outbreaks are fun. However, they're there from the beginning of the game. And they're the same Pokemon that appear within the Pokedex.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
trying to bring in the national Dex because that is a conversation that at this point has run its course. It's been basically almost 6 years now, well, 3 in a way, since the national Dex got cut altogether. But to put my grain of salt within the thing, or my grain of sand, however you say that word, the
Take with
whatever.
a grain of salt.
No, but that's not to like add to my statement. Let's just say that to add to my statement, the national decks helped progress the region in a natural way. If I may, if you're bringing back a pool of past generations of Pokemon, be it, how we haven't really been missing Starly because Starly has been found in almost every region aside from Sinnoh. And at this point, I believe Staraptor needs either a fresh coat of paint or a couple new tools in that toolkit because he getting repetitive. If you're gonna reintroduce Starly back, do it. But can you do it at the end of the game? Like, give us a time to like discover the Pokemons of this region, add more Pokemons of this brand new region, and then be like, oh, by the way, we're getting mass outbreak from Pokemon seen in other regions. Expand the Pokedex in that way, because seeing the Pokemons from the get-go from older regions in that makes me feel, and this is very much like a me type of thing. I do not know if like other trainers share the feeling, but it makes it feel like that region doesn't really have anything to sustain itself or kind of like be of substance for itself, and it kind of feels like a cop out. It's kind of like, oh yeah, we're patching it out with these other Pokemon. Like, okay, look at the older Pokemon, and if you have an idea of like, oh yeah, we're gonna implement this Pokemon into the thing, okay, could you maybe add a new one that is the equivalent of that one or has a similarity into it, be it typing or be a thing? Like, for example, if the region calls, oh, we're gonna do a bird, it's gonna be a normal type or it's gonna be just a flying type. Okay, cool, add a bird. Could you like maybe like add a new one instead of like, oh, we're gonna use Starly and it's gonna cover
Oh,
everything and it's gonna be great. Like, okay, your equivalent Starly is this, right? Okay, could you make a new one that is a better Starly, or dare I say, change out the ability, spice it up a little bit. Like, hey, Starly is known for being at the end of the evolutionary line, Staraptor, big, mean, intimidate. Okay, cool. It's a physical attacker. Maybe make a special one. Maybe make a speedy one. Do something that will change the general field. At the end of the day, they added something really, really good, and this is how I'm gonna open the next topic: regional forms and convergent species, which is
Yes.
essentially the new piece of flavor. Convergent, not regional forms, because we've been seeing that from Alola, but is the new plating option to refresh older Pokemons. Now, regional forms, Sosa, if you don't really know what they are, allow me to explain. Ever since our introduction to Alola, which was the last game on the 3DS,
hmm
that would be Generation 7, if you don't know. And
oh,
that's where we
Sun
ended.
and Moon.
Yes, that would be Sun and Moon. Ever since Sun and Moon, we got reintroduced to older Pokemon, mostly Kanto, because that was like the gimmick. We got basically what many of the Pokemon fandom at the beginning said: reskin of older Pokemon. What they would do is they would take older Pokemon and they would reskin it to fit the
The
geography
aesthetic.
of the island, the aesthetic and the geography of the island. They did that with Vulpix, and they gave us Alolan Vulpix, which you're known of because you play Pokemon Unite and you've seen Ninetales, which is white, and that Ninetales is an ice type. They did that with Executor, making it a big palm tree with Grass Dragon. Marowak became a fire dancer, and it's a fire ghost. Raichu, they gave Raichu a reskin, make it a psychic type. They gave it to Meowth, which is now a dark type. Sandshrew, an ice steel type. They did a lot of things with that, and that was a very innovative concept and great. It's been quote unquote a staple from Alola. They did it in Galar in Generation 8, that will be Sword and Shield. And in here, we had one new one and what we would consider like the standard for it. Galar did something very interesting with it. And it's Galar did, oh, by the way, regional forms also have their own unique Pokemon that they evolve into, to kind of give it that twist. In Galar, they did that with Obstagoon, which is a new evolution for Zigzagoon, Zigzagoon, Linoon, and Obstagoon. Uh, Corsola in Galar is a ghost type and it evolves. They did that with Surfetch, Farfetch, Galarian Farfetch, which is a staple in Ash's team. They did that with Mr. Mime. They did that with several Pokemon, which is great. Because essentially, if you were going to think about it in any way, it's the same thing that they did in Sinnoh with a lot of past Pokemon.
Hmm.
Apom, Ambipom, Roserade, Roselia, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of like a remix to like that, but in the sense of the regional forms. Here in Paldea, we got Wooper, and then we got Taurus. That's it. No more. So
No, didn't we
you,
get the I don't think it's called Infernape, but it's like the Mankey gets like
You're right.
an
no,
evolution.
that's a
So
new evolution.
also it's
That's a
also
new evolution. It's not a regional form. Regional form
what?
would be what they did with Wooper,
Yeah, where it's a
where
ground
it's
and
a new
poison.
type, exactly, which is a new type, and essentially it evolves into a completely new Pokemon, which is Clodsire, which is great. And what they did with Taurus, which is the what will look like the same Taurus, but it's now black and it's fighting, and it's good. But the other two Taurus are, I personally dislike them a lot. So yeah, so how did you feel the regional forms here? Like, now that I shared the light on them, did you know what they were or previously, or is
Let
this like
me.
a
So I knew going into it that like there was obviously going to be regional forms, obviously like the different variations from the original type, but I was hoping for more because like when I saw the Taurus, I was like, oh, it's black now. Okay, and then when I saw
Oh,
the
gross.
Wooper, I was like, you're ground and poison, huh? Do you still take damage against water? Oh, okay. Fire type. Gotcha. And it's I don't know. Maybe I was a little bit disappointed, but maybe it's also because like there was so few in that variety compared to other ones where it's like, hey, like we had an ice and steel type, we had this and that, and it's like there was more variety over there. And this is where I again will bring up like how quick of a production that was. Um, Between like January and November, that's a very quick thing. Even if like um, Scarlet and Violet started after Arceus, it doesn't matter because it's still released so quickly. And I feel like if they had taken maybe a full year, that would have helped dramatically.
a
But
full additional year?
no, from the time of Arceus's drop
Yeah.
until Scarlet and
So
Violet.
instead of dropping 2022, you would wish they would drop this year,
Yeah,
2023.
because that way we would have had the time to like play the game. If they wanted to patch anything in Arceus, there would be, but like something that you said earlier is replayability. So in and I know that we're not really talking about video games overall, but a lot of video games will have like a new game plus. So like there will be the challenge mode afterwards. All right, cool. Where's the challenge mode to keep me wanting to play this after I've done everything? Like I haven't completed my Pokédex, but I have like almost 300. And I'm like, I'm good. Like I have no reason to continue on. I've already been in Area Zero. I've already done all this other stuff. I already did everything. So I see no need for me to continue to play this if there's not really that call to action. But
I,
that's
I want
that's
to
me.
jump on that real quick
Hmm.
because, like you said, you've been to all the places, and I know we've taken more of a Pokemon perspective of it. Still, I mean, yes, we're still talking about Pokemon, but in older generations, you could go into the houses.
Mm.
You could go into the houses, bruh. Like, damn. I'm just saying, like, even if we did everything, we completed the battle tower and
Nothing but
everything.
gang
We
gang.
we know
Nothing
we
but
ran
gang
in people.
bang.
Hey, just like that TikTok sound. Even though we doing it big and large, if this rap shit don't work, we running in niggas' houses. Is that not what we did, Juju?
It is. It is.
We
That is a
ran in their
very, very
houses.
interesting concept. Uh, Great topic to start, and that's actually on point number three. But like, let's just like with the regional form, because like
Oh, my bad.
honestly, you know what? I said what I have to say with the regional forms, but we can touch on that like real quick. The game feels good, but we can see the plot holes. That's one. Like it's a staple in your games. Even in Arceus, we can go into the village and we can go into other people's houses. I know that we can't really do that in like in the settlements where the diamonds, with the Diamond Clan and the. No, actually, we could do that. We
Yes.
could go into the Pearl clans and the clans' houses in the middle of the on the in the area. So like, girl, what?
When I
And
saw it, I was so pissed. I was like, why can't I go through this door? Like it's a door here. Like you
uh
have Valencia,
huh,
you have not Valencia, yeah, Lavencia City,
Levincia, yeah, Levincia, yeah,
right? Right.
full of
You
stores, full of things. It's like,
you have a whole section for corporate office, but you mean we can't go find Game Freak in there like how we've done in the past? Because we
Because
got that in
one
Castelia City.
can't.
I'm just saying. Again, I'm just a
I
Unova trainer.
completely forgot about that. Oh my god!
They
I've
thought they were
completely
going to take that
disregarded
away.
Yeah.
that. I completely
Oh,
disregarded that. Have we found the NPC that is the equivalent of the game director?
No, because they got rid of it, and they thought we weren't going to find it. Unless it's
Oh,
from, unless it's that little house that we first got introduced to that they were saying, oh, it's going to be for DLC where the master and mistress is home. Aside from that, nah, they took it away from us, and they thought they were slick. I've been sitting here heated about that the whole conversation. That's why I've been
I
sitting here
just
holding it in. It
it
clicked
just
to you now,
clicked on
right?
me. It just clicked on me. Yeah, it's like okay, so as a form of like point of view for reference, one of the challenges in the post game, and this is a great point of loop. Screw the regional forms. We'll talk about them when we get to the Pokemon parts. One of the points of the game, as an additional point of challenge, was that as you completed the game, there will come a point where you could go up to the Game Freak equivalent of the studio within the game, in oftentimes the big major cities, and you could square up with the game director. And the game director will have a custom team for him with Pokemons of that generation at a high level, perfect IVs ready to go. Oh my god, I
unreal.
completely forgot about that. Thank you so much for pointing that out for me, Sage. Because, like, honestly, it is. I was completely flabbergasted. And also, he's the one who gives you a Game Freak. Thank you for completing certificate for the Pokedex. Because he's the one that, oh, you completed the Pokedex? Okay, cool. And it was a cute little Easter egg. And it was always in all of the games. Oh my god.
Bruh.
Bruh. Legit. The way that I just did. Jeez, like honestly, that could be a perfect clip because my brain has just been blown. Like I'm like, wow. I, you know what? Never mind. I'm switching over to Digimon.
Digimon.
That's also a great point of reference in post game activities. They game be lacking, and the okay, I will give Paldea some general slack. Did they did try to do some collectibles on here and there in the sense of like the well, not even collectibles. It was more like a little side quest at the end of like all three of the points of the stories, which is like, oh yeah, go rebattle the gyms, and then square up in this little ghetto ass tournament was good, and then after this tournament is done, go defeat high level terror raids, and you can unlock the once a day 6-star raid of perfect to go competitive Pokemon, which is nice. With a different Terra type exclusive or like kind of like at random, and then you got that and you get to grind it out. The grind is good, but the grind gets repetitive and the grind gets boring. So
Yeah,
it,
that's
it's it's
it's the keeping our attention for me. And again, it's all like that new game plus or that challenge mode. It's like
Mm.
what is there really to challenge me? All right, cool. The tear rates. All right, cool. Because like you can only do those online because if you try it any other way, it doesn't really work. It's lackluster to me. But I think like the most not most important thing, but I feel like the part that is the most interesting is the fact that there's part of the map that isn't introduced to us. Like it's locked off. It's black. Like it shows the outline of it, but
I
I'm
know.
like, why can't I get there? I've completed the game, and there's nothing saying, hey, like no, like I went to the edge of the map because I was
Yeah,
curious, and I just couldn't
and
find anything on it.
I don't want to necessarily compare it because it might not be the most fairest thing. Bless you. It might not be the most fairest thing to compare, but that's one of the. Well, it's an important point to bring out. To bring to example the Sinnoh region once more. Um, Listen, once you completed the whole story of the game, there was an entire section off map that you could go from. Once you reach to like the seventh gym place, Snow Point City, or was it Snow Point City? Yeah, Snow Point City, I believe. Snowbell, sorry, Snowbell City. There was like a boat that you could take once you defeat Cynthia and whatnot, and you could go into the other portion of the map and you can find Pokemons from like other regions and other stuff, and it had like a complete other narrative that you can complete, an additional part of the Team Galactic storyline that you could also complete with emphasis on what was the name? The Magma Pokemon? I forgot. Like it's not
Magmar?
Magmotor. No, it's not Magmotor. It's a legendary. I keep
Oh,
forgetting what it's called.
because I was about to go
Let me
through my thing and
just.
I was like, wait, nope, that doesn't even sound right.
It's fire and steel. It's the I believe it's the only fire and steel type Pokemon that we ever have, but I keep forgetting the name. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Am I a fake fan?
Well, that's the thing. There's like so many games. There's 9 generations of
Heatran.
games.
Heatran. The Pokemon is Heatran. So anyways, there's a whole thing that you could do with it. Here it's like, okay, you completed the game. Did you find the four legendaries that have more lore than the legendaries of the region? Oh, I'm getting too ahead of myself because, like, listen, when we touch that point on the legendaries, it's gonna get heated in here.
This
So it's
it looks like a crappy
let me
frog. Yeah, this
that
looks like a
that
bad
is
frog.
that is Hedron. That is essentially the spirit of all volcanoes within the Sinnoh region, and it is a whole thing. It has enough energy that Team Galactic actually wants it in order to complete some of the points to, perform in their nefarious plans. It's even touched on the anime a couple times. Anyways, but yeah, Paldea does not have enough in the post game to actually suffice with anything. Now we have to talk about something that it's still on the terms of like gameplays wise, and after this we're gonna start touching on the Pokemons. Uh, unless you guys want to touch on the story after I make this point, and it's the scale of the game. From a playing perspective, I don't know if you have played Sword and Shield. This is mostly like a me and maybe Sage if he wants to chime in again. Uh, the scale of the game feels adequate. Allow me. The map in itself, it really do be feeling like you're dwarfed in the concept of the entire region. The region feels big. The region feels good to explore. You can see the different biomes. You can see the different ecosystems. You can see like the interactions with different the Pokemon in the wild and just running around lollygagging, doing all that stuff. It feels it is generally one of the things that captivated me the most of the game. It's that wanderlust that I got even when I was playing the game. Like to this, like as of right now, I still have not battled all the trainers in the game because they're not my priority. My priority was exploration. And it got to a point that I was exploring so much that I was completely even ignoring a lot of the parts of the story. Like I was just like, you know what? I want to be everywhere on the map. I want to unlock the map first. And it is an experience that I will give Pokemon their props. They're learning in the sense of scaling their games to make it feel big. And as their first venture into a completely open world game, hey, props to you. Props to you because you did your thing. You really did make the region feel big, and you really did feel the region. It gave it that feel that I'm gonna go off the beaten path. Like, oh my god, there's the Pokemon is here, or like, oh wow, I found this item here, or like, how am I gonna get it here if like I don't see the road or whatever? It's because I didn't. And it's just I went off on my own and I made my way up to the top of the mountains, to the tippity tippity top, and I'm like, oh wow, this region does feel nice. It's like kind of like that Tiffany Haddish sound. Oh, this is nice. You ain't got no roaches or whatever. Like it was pretty much that feel for me going into the region. We'll say though, could use a little bit more variety in sense of the Pokemon, but that's also kind of like on the Pokedex side of the conversation. But in terms of bio, in terms of the scales, in terms of like the general feel of the big of the game, how do you feel?
Uh, I mean, in terms of game and area, I feel like it was maybe a little bit too big, but not by much. It was just like so. It's to me, it wasn't that big of a like oh my god, it's big. It's like all right, cool. Well, I'm here and I need to go here. All right, cool. Let me just hop on my Pokemon and run. Um, and like I always go in certain areas. It honestly, most part, like I just didn't mind. I don't have any complaints in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like certain areas were a pain in the ass to get to because you're like, how the hell do I get there? Like this is obviously before you defeat the Titans and you can get the rock climbing ability. Um, but even then, like I'm just like, all right, cool. How do I get here? I don't know how I'm supposed to get there. All right, cool. Let's try and go this way. Okay, cool. That didn't work. Let me try to go that way. Okay, that didn't work. But while I'm exploring, like I'm finding Pokemons, and then every once in a while I gotta fast travel out because everything's dead. Uh, but honestly, I didn't mind it. I don't have too much of complaints on it, and I think that was pretty
Okay.
good, like overall. But it's nothing too crazy. It's just like it's a little bit too jarring, but depending on like how you play, you could take like I'll be like, all right, cool. Let me just stay here, and then go here, and then go here. Okay, cool. Now everything's done. All right, cool. Now let me go over here.
Right. Yeah, I can see your point. It was mostly like since maybe you were like not into like the whole like I need to go. And you went full on story mode first and then exploration.
I went exploration with some story in it. Like I was exploring more
Got
than I
it.
was
Got
doing
it.
like story stuff. Um, but I didn't like the. I saved like a couple of gym leaders until after I was done with the school, so I could go and finish it in case there was like any story thing that like would stop me from doing something or like something like
Mm-hmm.
not a glitch, but like something that would stop me from getting somewhere.
Like a
Yeah,
progression wall.
yeah. So I was like, you know what?
Got it. Got it.
Let me save these for last. Let me go to school, do all the school stuff. All right, cool. Now let me go back out there, do my thing. All right, cool. I'm being summoned back to school. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that. I can see how that will go. Listen. As somebody who's been playing for a long time, I would have to give the props where the props are due. And the region feels big. The region feels natural. The region feels like delicious. Considering and comparing this to the other mainline game for the Switch, which would be Sword and Shield, leaps and bounds better. Because the way the Sword and Shield felt extremely linear was a problem on that like re-exploration part. At this point, and this is gonna sound really mean to like other Pokemon trainers or whatever, I'm just waiting for the Pokemon Home compatibility with Scarlet and Violet, so I can basically reset everything in my Sword and Shield by sending every last Pokemon that I have ever caught in Sword and Shield into Pokemon Home, erasing the save data, and starting all over, just to see if the region has like any type of catchback feel onto me, because it's I don't know it this region felt more as a this is a step in the Pokemon world. Like I know that for a fact it's not in the anime type of the sense of the Pokemon world, but this is what like as a gamer and as a big long time fan, it felt right in a weird way. And I can also see that they were also trying to do it with Legends of Arceus, and I commend them for it. The biomes of Arceus feel great. The whole general landscape of it all feel great. The separate the separate little big areas, but we're all interconnected by a loading screen. Might not have been. the best in the general sense, but I do get where they were trying to go for, because like I see that they were first trying to test stuff out before they send it out into the general public, and Paldea did it okay. Paldea did it seamlessly. The hiccups visible, as we've stated before. Love what they did overall.